Salam, I'm Katya, a Russian living in Tehran, Iran, and welcome to my channel, Stranger in Tehran. This has been the hardest video that I ever wanted to make for my YouTube channel because first of all, in this video, I'm going to share a lot of personal experiences and personal feelings. So some things that I shared before on social media, on Instagram, and I received a lot of hate. That's why I'm feeling a bit anxious about sharing stuff like this here on YouTube. But I feel that I just need to talk about it, and I really want to explain what ordinary life looks like in Iran, especially right now. The second reason why it is like one of the hardest things that I've done for this YouTube channel is because I really can't talk freely about the current situation in Iran, and I feel some kind of pressure for choosing my words very carefully to avoid any possible problems. It feels like inside Iran you can complain and talk openly only about inflation and the internet blackout. This is a bit challenging and quite a limited number of topics that you can talk about. So I will try my best to talk carefully and at the same time try to give you a gist of what ordinary life, everyday life in Iran feels like. Because it has been the only reason why I started this YouTube channel, to allow people who can travel to Iran see what it feels like to live in Iran, what daily life looks like from the inside. And that is why I felt responsible actually for making such a video and sharing this experience with others. So in this video, I'm going to share mostly my personal experience of living in a country at war. So the thing I think I should probably start with is the safety issues and why I'm still in Iran and why I didn't leave. Most of us got the idea of a war from historical movies, historical books, or maybe some of us got that impression from our parents or grandparents, how most of us probably imagine what a war looks like is fighting at the front, at the border of the country, and or maybe some mass bombings in the cities, which include civilian buildings as well. But I must say that in the 21st century, wars have changed a lot and look completely different. The bombings look absolutely different, and they are mostly targeted at military locations. That was one of the reasons why I felt relatively safe inside Tehran. And another reason was our neighborhood. Luckily, it hasn't been bombed. We heard the explosions from afar. Some explosions were closer and louder, some of explosions were more far away, but anyway, at least we felt kind of safe inside our neighborhood, and we felt quite safe to go for walks. Although I felt pretty anxious about going to other neighborhoods because, well, you don't know what building you are passing and if it is related to military or police. A lot of people died because they just got caught in the explosion wave. That's why I was quite afraid of leaving the neighborhood. Of course, it was not the same for everyone because depending, Tehran is huge, and in other neighborhoods there were more bombings and people had to leave because those neighborhoods were not safe at all. Actually, I think because we already had a prior experience of bombings, in June last year. That's why maybe right now it wasn't something new and terrifying like it was in summer. I'm not sure, but it can be just another reason for why we decided not to leave. Because in summer we panicked quite quickly and in 3-4 days time we left Tehran for Yazd, and I made a video about that, by the way, so you can check it out if you haven't watched it yet. This time, we were much cooler about that, so we stayed in Tehran the whole time, and that is why safety issue didn't bother us as much as other things did. So the issue that made my life miserable at the time was the internet blackout, which actually continues right now in Iran. Iran has been switched off from the international internet for over 2 months. Since the pandemic, my whole life turned online. My job, because I teach Persian online to non-Iranians and most of them live outside Iran. My communication with family and friends who live outside Iran. Most of my entertainment also is online. In one single moment when the internet was switched off, I lost most important things in my life. I lost my job, I lost any connection to my family and to my friends. I couldn't even let my parents know that I'm okay and tell them not to worry about me. I lost a huge part of entertainment. When you have access to the internet 24/7, you can't even imagine how dependent we are on the internet and how everything is online right now. So that was the hardest part of the whole experience. Some were able to phone their families and their relatives outside Iran, but unfortunately, no matter how I tried, I couldn't get in touch with my parents and I couldn't call them on the phone. The only thing that saved me was that one of my friends was lucky to have a VPN at the time, and I would call her on a different phone, and she would use her phone with the VPN to call my mom, and then she would put both phones on the speaker, and this is how we could talk for a while. Now I do the same thing for a couple of friends who live outside Iran and who want to talk to their family inside Iran. Even now that VPNs are more accessible, even now not many can afford buying them, not many know where to buy them and how to buy them. So a lot of people are still cut off. For the first month and a half, I think, I have zero income. And I honestly feel privileged to be able to live for a while without the necessity to earn money. A lot of people were laid off during the war. A lot of people lost their jobs, like those who had online jobs like me, those who had, like, for example, online shops, which is very, very common in Iran. Even now, not many of them could find other ways to continue their business. Unemployment rate is really high right now, and a lot of people tackle this situation right now. Another thing that actually was the result of the internet blackout was the lack of news. I had access only to the local news, the official news. Well, of course, they are very limited and biased, and they didn't share much information about the bombings inside Iran. And well, when you hear those sounds, hear those explosions, you want to know where they happened, how close they were to your house or to your neighborhood. And unfortunately, there was little information in official Iranian websites about that. So every once in a while, we visited my husband's parents to watch some satellite Persian language channels. And of course, they are super biased too. At least they gave more information about the bombings inside Iran and the locations, so we could at least have get a vague idea of what neighborhoods may be less safe to go to. I remember that one day when some oil plant or something was bombed, when I woke up in the morning, like, it was too dark and it wasn't getting any brighter. The sky, like, was weirdly dark. When we set off to walk to my husband's parents' house, like, we saw that cars, they have these black ashes on them, and like, what is going on? what happened? It rained a little bit on the day, and then we went out, and like, especially the white cars, all of them turned black, and we were not understanding what was going on. And when we reached my husband's parents' house and we watched the TV, the satellite TV, we found out what happened, and that this oil plant was attacked, and like, it was not even safe to go out and to breathe in those ashes and that air. Like, we were lucky at least that we went out after the rain. The air was not as bad as it was early in that morning. But the news is a really important thing. When you are cut off from it, it increases this emotional pressure. And of course, I might say that knowing the news didn't help much. They just increased the anxiety, because Like at some point there were lots of talks about the possibility of bombing electricity plants. We were preparing ourselves for really the worst. Like, what will we do if there is no water, if there is no electricity? Like, we had some water supplies and drinking water. And we also prepared this emergency backpack just in case. Even seeing this backpack sitting there in the corner brought a lot of anxiety by itself. But I really would like to talk about the internet blackout and how it was for me in a separate video, because I have a lot to say about it. Right now, I just want to say that after a month or so, I think we finally found an opportunity to contact someone who sells VPNs, and we bought a VPN for like a ridiculously huge amount of money, but at least I was able to contact my family directly and to talk to my friends, and finally talk to someone in Russian, because inside Iran, like most of my friends are Iranian. And I really lacked that and missed that a lot. That VPN worked like not very well. Like on some days it would work fine, on some days it wouldn't connect at all, or it would connect better in the morning, for example, but won't connect in the evening. Or like sometimes when I would wake up and like check the internet, check the VPN, it won't work and start working only a couple of hours later. So like it was pretty messed up, the situation with the VPN. And we had to buy another one after a while, and that one worked only for like a few days, and then it just didn't connect anymore. And then after a week or so, or maybe after a couple of weeks even, it connected again. We spent quite a lot of money on VPNs at the time, and only for the sake of keeping in touch with family, friends, and with the outer world. But after the ceasefire, the situation with VPNs became better. They became slightly cheaper, but still quite expensive. And for those whose job doesn't depend on the internet, they just don't even bother to buy them, because it's ridiculous, like the sum of money you have to pay for using the internet. But like I, for example, have no choice, because this is the only way I can go on. I can still do my job, and I can keep in touch with my family. So beside the internet blackout, there were other things that made it even harder to go through this time. The first weeks of the war were practically a lockdown, because a lot of people were afraid to leave their homes or their neighborhoods. Just like us, we were quite anxious and careful about going to other neighborhoods, and I would check like what we're going to pass on the way if we go to another location, another neighborhood. And then if there was something related to police or military, I would just forget about going there at all. We were not able to see our friends. First 2 weeks of the war were during Ramadan. Most cafes and restaurants were closed, or some of them opened for a couple of hours in the evening. Some of them wouldn't even bother opening up, because there were very few customers, so what's the point? And that is why I really missed being around people, because like streets were empty, and there was no opportunity like to go to cafes, restaurants, or like any other public place. Like most public places were closed. Only after Nowruz, March 20th, restaurants, cafes opened up, and more people would go outside and stay outside, like to the parks. And that is why like we would go to a cafe sometimes in the afternoon for a tea, just to sit there and watch people and like be around people. Only after the Nowruz holidays, streets became busier, and more places opened up, and some cultural events starting to open up. And that is why there, like right now, for example, there are much more opportunities to go out. People are really trying their best to make their lives look normal, but it's just impossible because nothing looks normal right now in Iran. So what can I say about the situation right now? Schools and universities hold online classes. Those people who manage to keep their jobs go to work like before. Others try to look for new jobs. Most people struggle with the inflation because every week you go to the supermarket, you see that prices rise like every single week. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on people. What makes things worse is the uncertainty. Uncertainty in terms of the internet and hence my job, because right now I managed to hold a few classes online with the VPNs that I have, but I'm not sure like how many students will come back and how stable the internet will be and how stable the situation will be, or whether there will be another round of attacks and it will reach some point when even the VPN won't work. It's impossible to predict anything in terms of the future of the country and what is going to happen, whether the attacks will continue or not, and how the things will end, how the war will end, and what will become of Iran after that. I feel very uncertain about my personal life in Iran, and I love living in Iran. I've loved living here all these years, and it will be awful to have to leave. At some points during these 2 months, I really felt like there is nothing left to me than just leave, because it's extremely difficult to continue doing what you're doing online. I have my job, I have this YouTube channel, all of that depends on the internet. And if I don't have the internet, if my VPN doesn't work anymore, then I won't be able to continue. Living with this uncertainty in your life is pretty hard. It has been quite difficult to find any stability in this uncertainty and to find something that would keep you grounded and give you this sense of control over the situation, because there is no such thing. You can't control anything, you can't predict even anything. It is definitely a difficult point in the life of the country and in my life as well. The only thing that I can think of is just to hope for a new, brighter, freer Iran, for a better future for all of us. So let's finish this video on this positive note. Hope for the best and hope to see you in another video. Thank you very much for watching this video up to the end, and thank you very much for all your support that I received in comments to my previous videos. It was an absolute pleasure to see all that love from you when I finally connected to the internet and saw all those comments. I really appreciate it. See you soon. Khodafez.